everybody. This is Barbara Ham-Lee. If you love music, then this is the show for you. Today on Another View, the incomparable Jae Sinnett. You may know him from his radio shows, Sinnett in Session and the R&B Chronicles, heard right here on WHRV. Or maybe you've attended one of his concerts with the Jae Sinnett Trio. Perhaps you have some of his albums. Well, today we get the backstory on his latest creation, Americana Groove Project, and find out about yet another talent of Jae's, vocalist. We're going to have a good time on Another View, so please stay tuned, everybody.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Our guest today is no stranger to Another View. Jae Sinnett has shared his knowledge of jazz with us. After all, he is a music instructor. He shared music he's created with us. After all, he is a composer. He brings us Sinnett in Session in the R&B Chronicles. After all, he's a radio host and producer. But today you'll find out that the brother can sing. Are you ready for it? His latest creation is the Americana Groove Project. Please welcome the incomparable Jae Sinnett.
Hey.
How are you, sir?
What's up, Barbara? Good to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you on the show. I am so excited about this project. So
we are too.
And we're going to play a lot of music from it and give people a little taste of what to expect, and then they'll all go running out to the stores, which I know is the bottom line, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope so. Yeah. Or running away from it.
This is a departure for you. This is not straight up jazz as normally you would produce. So what stirred the Americana Groove Project?
In some ways, Barbara, it's not really a departure, because the first music I played professionally was rock, and funk. But the only people that really know me, that have known me for years, know that.
The majority of people know you as a jazz
because I've been playing jazz for the past 30-odd years.
Mm-hmm.
And, as a music performer, as a jazz broadcaster, as a jazz educator, so jazz is just there. It's been there. And so people coming in my sphere of the past 30 years, they only have seen and heard jazz. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did a brief departure back in 2010 with that House and Senate band, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of a funk thing. One critic called that the best record nobody's ever heard, right? But it's always been in me to go back to my roots. Like when I was a young boy growing up in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh, all that was played in my household was like gospel, like Reverend James Cleveland, Mahalia Jackson, the Five Blind Boys of Alabama, Mighty Clouds of Joy,
Absolutely.
And then there was Aretha, the soul, which is different than R&B,
wow.
Like the soul of like Sam Cooke or Ray Charles or Aretha Franklin at that time, right? Aretha was a blues, jazz, gospel singer back then, and an underrated piano player. And then Motown came into play, right? And then Stax Records, with Isaac Hayes and the Bart Hayes and all those guys. Oh man, come on. I was telling you a little while ago before we went live that I'm so grateful to have lived through the 60s to experience that revolution in American music when funk first dropped. When James Brown brought modern funk to the landscape, and when you had real soul singers, man. Soul is basically merging gospel and blues and to create that genre of soul. R&B at its inception was mostly instrumental.
Right.
Yeah. But that's not, it has a whole different definition today by today's standards. But so I grew up on it and I was exposed to that. So I wanted to go back and the rhythms, and learning to play drums, there were certain rhythms that influenced me. When I first heard the early recordings of Motown, believe it or not, it was Marvin Gaye playing drums.
Playing drums, really?
Yeah, he was actually the drummer on Stevie Wonder's first record. Oh. Marvin was a house band drummer, but Motown, but he starts singing. Somebody heard him sing, and the rest is history. But they had their own group of drummers, and then there were drummers that came along like Al Jackson Jr., mostly with Stax Records, the drummers of Motown, which were 2 or 3 of them. And then there were the incomparable Clyde Stubblefield with James Brown, and later on Jabo Starks, because Brown used 2 or 3 drummers sometimes, but Clyde was the main one. That started with Cold Sweat, and I got that feeling.
That very specific.
Yeah, those rhythms.
Sound, yeah.
And then there was Bo Diddley coming out of the 50s. I was a young boy. When I heard that rhythm, which is a combination of kind of a New Orleans second line kind of groove. I mean, those rhythms stick with you. So as a drummer, I zeroed in on that when I heard Clyde play Cold Sweat. Those rhythms. So basically the concept behind the Americana Groove Project is going back to my roots and thinking about the rhythms and the grooves that inspired me and have stuck with me all these years, and then writing songs on top of these rhythms to create something that has that old school sensibility, like for our generation. I think our generation can connect with that, the boomers.
Very much so.
But there's some modern sensibilities on top of it as well.
So is your goal to expose your jazz audience to something new, or to bring on a new audience, or a combination of both?
Well, I still, being in jazz for as long as I have, I still don't know how far the jazz audience will go before bending, and
they're going to go, Jay, where are you going with this?
Because this is not a swinging jazz record, but it swings in a different way.
That's very true.
Right. It's very funky. It's a funky record. And, but back then, you had Gladys Knight that was singing jazz earlier in her career. Aretha was singing jazz. So our generation, when we hear feel good funky music, that's not such a stretch away from jazz.
Right.
We used to hear, I grew up in Pittsburgh, near Pittsburgh, which had one of the first FM radio signals. It wasn't unusual to hear Aretha Franklin, then John Coltrane, then Miles Davis, then Chicago.
All on the same
format.
station, right.
So as young kids, teenagers, we were exposed to that kind of music. And I think younger people today coming into jazz or really like jazz might have a little issue with this record, because there's not a lot of electronics on it. They're real.
It's pure
people.
music.
It's people playing instruments,
Yes,
musicians. There are 16-year-olds today that have never heard a real drummer on a record.
Wow. That is, well, I tell you what, let's take a listen to just a little bit of one, just to kind of expose you. And then we got a funny story to tell after that. But Todd, let's start with Diddley Street. Let's take a listen to that. That Hammond B3.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Not a sound like it.
I love it.
That gets that soul.
Tell us who's playing. Tell us about the group.
Weldon Hill is playing the Hammond organ. Dr. Weldon Hill. Weldon used to be provost up at Virginia State University. Still an educator up there. Mm-hmm. Terry Burrell, my longtime bass player, is playing the bass. I brought in the new guy in the family, Jay Rakes. Jay's not new around the area, but to us, because I wanted a progressive rock blues player. I didn't want a jazz guitar player, although Jay has a strong foundation in what I call progressive rock, which is a bit different than jazz fusion. But he has that soul sensibility, and brought that blues element to the music. And then on some tracks, the great Justin Coughlin is playing some keyboard and acoustic piano on the record, and Jennifer Gamble's background vocal on one track, Burnin' Burman.
Mm-hmm. So
and I'm playing drums,
and you are playing the drums,
and doing
absolutely.
all the vocal work.
So, I was curious about the vocal work, and we're going to actually hear you really sing in one song in just a little bit. But I noticed that there's layers of your singing, and are you doing all the layers?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're doing it all.
I'm overdubbing everything.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So when this whole project was done and the CD was ready.
Here we go.
Let's talk about your experience. What happened when you went home and there was a box of CDs, I guess, sitting on your steps, right? What happened?
Well, I had been through so much, and we'll talk about the vocal thing again in a moment, because there were things that weren't planned, and this thing went in so many different directions. The point is that it really burned me out. It really did.
The project as a whole.
Because it took longer than any project I've ever done.
How long did it take?
About 3.5 months, 4 months. But I started writing the music last year.
Okay.
And I wrote and arranged all the music. And then there were issues, with the recording and but we got everything worked out. But I was just, thankfully it's done. Thank God this record is done. Then the company said, Jay, we're going to get the record to you on that Friday, whatever that Friday was. And I wanted the record because I had to go out to the West Coast for the Jazz Week Radio Conference and then for the San Jose Jazz Festival. And I wanted to
By the way, congratulations on your award.
Thank you. And I wanted to take the record out there with me, to the conference, right? They said, don't worry, you'll have the record, it'll be there. The company, the disc makers, right? So I'm like, that Wednesday I was driving home from work, I pull up and I see all the boxes of the CDs on my porch. And I'm like, oh man, they're early, because I was supposed to get them on that Friday. And I got out, I was so excited, and I brought 1,000 CDs now on my porch, right? So I brought all these boxes in my house. I go up, change my clothes, I crack a bottle of wine, come back down because I'm going to celebrate by myself. And I finally got this project finished. I took it out. The packaging is beautiful. Opened it up, pulled up a chair. And then I take the disc out and I put the disc in my CD player. And this is what I heard.
Control the state and drink a measure, for unto him the world is fair. Who holdeth in his heart the treasure, the Alpha Delta's hidden there.
Not quite Americana Groove Project.
So I said, I think I accidentally pressed the radio button. So took the CD out, make sure, okay, CD, so I put it back in. Same thing. So I said, well, maybe it's this CD, like 1 out of 1,000. Right? I just happened to pick the wrong 1 out of 1,000. So I opened the second one, put it in, same thing. So I said, something must be wrong with my player. So I took it out to my truck, right? I put it in my truck, same thing. I'm like, so I come in and open 10 or 15, 20 more CDs.
And they're all
the same thing. It's like a barbershop Celtic quartet or something, So then I thought, well, maybe these people got our record and they're probably going through what I'm going through right now. So I went from wanting a glass of wine to needing a glass of wine. So I was like in a parallel universe. This can't be happening to me. And I called the company the next day and I said, how could you do this? How could this happen? Wow. And they're like, oh, wow, Mr. Sinnett, we are so sorry. Needless to say, I didn't have the record when I went out to California.
Oh, wow.
Because they had to get the barbershop quartet off my record, But when you look at it, they had the correct packaging and everything. It was
so
just
they still don't know how they messed it up.
I don't know.
My goodness. And I neglected. Tell people the exact name of the award that you won. It was for jazz, but just to bring that to closure.
The Scott Willis Jazz Impact Award, and it has to do with your humanitarian work, your educational work in jazz, with your community, with your broadcasters, because Scott was a well-known and highly influential broadcaster who passed away a couple of years back. So and it caught me completely. I was out there because I was also nominated for Jazz Programmer of the Year. I was nominated in that category. And then these two, the Duke Du Bois Award and the Scott Willis Award are the two biggies. So when I didn't win the Jazz Presenter of the Award, I just wrote it off. So I was sitting there stuffing my face with pizza, this delicious pizza out there in San Jose, and they were announcing the winners. Now our final award is the Scott Willis Award, and I'm sitting there, I wonder who's that's going to be. He's a 30-year broadcasting veteran. Oh, he's been out there a while. He's also a musician. I'm like, musician? He's a drummer? And I'm like, drummer. And he has a new recording coming out called the Americana Groove Project. And I'm like, and then they announced me and I won.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was a blessing to me and an honor. Yeah, I was caught completely off guard with that. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. Give Jay a call. Tell him what you're thinking about the music. We're going to play a lot more of it coming up, but we're going to talk to Heather in Virginia Beach right now. Hi, Heather. You're on the air.
Hi, and I love Jae Sinnett. He gets all these awards, which well-deserved, even while eating pizza. Everything he does is magic. And bring on the funk, and I want to shout out to Terry Burrell on bass, and I love this. I can't wait. I want one. I don't want the barbershop quartet. I want
Heather, thank you so much for the call.
Thank
Jay,
you.
tell people how they can get the CDs. Well, since she brought it up.
Okay, you can order a hard copy of the CD through via my website, jaesinnett.com, through PayPal, and it's very safe and simple. At JAESINNETT.com. You can, if you want a hard copy, you can get it there, or you can download from iTunes, CD Baby. You can also get a hard copy from CD Baby or download. All the usual online retailers have it if you want to get downloads.
Absolutely.
Amazon, Apple,
Okay, we talked about a little bit of James Brown in there, and I told you as I was listening to the various cuts. So I want to play Midnight Jam because
one
to
of
me,
the instrumentals, yeah.
Yes, it's one of the instrumentals, and this reminded me immediately
Hardcore
of
funk.
something that JB would do. So, and we didn't get through all the songs, but in these songs, there are also solos.
Oh, yeah.
Which reminded
You hear
me,
Jay right there.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, which reminded me of jazz in the sense that they're usually solos
Right.
of the musicians.
What's interesting, because I was made a conscious decision with this when I brought Justin in. I knew Justin was going to bring a heavy jazz sensibility, but I knew Jay, the guitar player, you can hear him in the background a little bit, stretching out on some rock.
Pull it up a little bit. Oh yeah.
But if you when we get past the rock fusion guitar solo, then Justin comes in with a jazz piano, acoustic piano solo after this. So I wanted that contrast, but then you have that deep, thick pocket, that groove between the bass and the drums. And that's what this whole record is about, the groove. just what you feel and how you make those grooves feel.
And I tell you, you can't sit and listen to this without bouncing.
Right.
I mean, you just have to rock to the music. Yeah. Absolutely. Man, let's go to our phones, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Jamani, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing
Good.
great.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I just want to tell Jay, growing up, I'm a drummer as well, and there was 3 people I was influenced by, and that's Dave Weckl, Peter Erskine, and Jae Sinnett.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Jamani, what was it about Jay that influenced you?
Just his style. Like you hear a lot of what he, encompasses in his music. Especially like the 0 to 60. That's one of my favorite albums of his.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I really like that one. And I'll see you tonight up in Williamsburg.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much for the call. Calling from Chesapeake, from your hometown, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. My neck of the woods. Right?
Absolutely, your neck of the woods. Let's talk to Portia in Newport News. Hi, Portia. You're on the air.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good.
Hi, Portia.
And you and everyone. I'm telling you, I think I'm one of the few people that understand the difference between R&B and soul. And I love how Jay brought it in because, between the 60s, growing up as a little girl, you heard the Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin, but then you heard when the Jackson 5 and R&B really came about, and then how Marvin Gaye came about, and then when James Brown, Parliament Funkadelic, they all followed him. So listen to Americana. I'm telling you, I love it. I love the project. Gonna get it. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for the call, Portia. We appreciate it. So there are people out there who get it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a generational thing. And when I was talking with the guys about the music, I said, "Listen, man, there's another reason why I want you to do this because we're all close to the same generation, and I think for this project, that's very, very, very important in terms of getting the emotional sensibilities of what I was after with this music. Now I brought Justin in. Now Justin's a lot younger. Justin was a student of mine. I started teaching him when he was like maybe 15 years old, and he was part of my trio. He ended up being in my trio for about 10 years. Now he's a star, signed with Quincy Jones, and he's going to be on my show too, my Send In a Session show on the 18th. I'm bringing him in because he has a new record coming out. But Justin is one of these guys that can play anything. Yeah. He just gets it. He's a prodigy, man. He just gets it. And so it was bringing together the people that understood what I was after with the emotional sensibilities, with the groove concepts, with the vibe, the feel of the music. Like, for example, when you played a little bit of Diddley Strut, I hummed a little bit of that rhythm with Bo Diddley. That was usually the tempo that Bo played it. But when you really listen to Diddley Strut, the song we heard earlier,
the first one,
I just took the same rhythm but slowed it down. Right, and then put improvisation on top of it and some background vocal shouts. That sort of thing.
There was, in the promotional video that I saw for Americana Groove Project, there was a lot of teasing of you from your fellow musicians about the way you write the music. What's that about?
Well, mostly from Terry, because Terry's been with me the longest, right? And Weldon will jab me too, because
they called it something French.
Weldon, mediant relationship, but that's Dr. Weldon Hill. Okay, keep that in mind, right? He was talking about how it's try to put it in simple terms as I can. There are harmonic progressions or chord progressions. And Weldon pointed out something to me in my writing. A lot of times when I shift to go to solo sections, I will have a chord progression that usually jumps a third interval or diminished interval. Like if you're looking at C, an E flat would be a third above. Okay, so that would jump to an E flat type chord from the C. And he pointed that out to me, and I was like, wow, you're right. I do that in a lot of my songs. And he said it's something that's identifiable to the way you write. But Terry's been with me long enough when I was writing all this crazy stuff in the jazz, the complexity, the odd meters, the different time signatures, the strange forms, the various feels and tempos and all that, which was really heady in a way. And I kind of turned myself off with that, actually, because it was...
You turned yourself off?
Yeah,
Wow,
I did, because,
really?
because I can listen to myself objectively, right? And a lot of times I don't like what I hear, and a lot of times I say, okay, that wasn't too bad, but the artist has to have the courage to say that. They have to be able to hear themselves objectively. And a couple of my records, I feel like, man, they sound really good. They're great records, but I think there's too much intellectualism going on here,
as opposed to feeling,
getting back into
the music,
that deep emotional blues kind of sensibility. And that's what I was missing, and that's what was driving me towards to go back to my roots with this project.
For if you're just joining us, we're talking with drummer, composer, radio host, and all-around good guy, Jae Sinnett, about his latest endeavor, the Americana Groove Project. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you are one of Jay's ardent jazz fans and you're listening to the music today, give us a call. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Okay, we got to talk about Higher Calling. Because first and foremost, it's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
And the lyrics, everything is just gorgeous. You wrote it. It's a gospel song. From the promotional video, just watching you sing it, you went someplace else in your delivery of this song. I mean, your eyes are closed. You can just tell you're just into it. Is there something behind the song that really touched you?
It's about my faith. I mean, I was raised in a church. I sang in the church choir, not in the lead capacity. My faith is important to me, and I've always wanted to do a faith-based tune, but playing jazz for as long as I have, primarily instrumental. So I didn't, saying, okay, well, I'm going to play this faith-based tune, but it's going to be an instrumental. So I don't feel like I would have conveyed the message that needed to come out in that way. So that's why I pretty much have avoided that all these years playing jazz. But then when I started writing lyrics for this, and I knew I wanted vocals on this project, I said, well, I want to write a tune that expresses my faith in some capacity that's important to me, but also hopefully the message of the song would inspire people and get them to perhaps rethink some things and how they live their life. And it's not necessarily I'm trying to get somebody to go faith or just go religious or something. It's not about that at all. It's my faith is important to me, like yours is to you and everybody else. It's what you believe. It's what we believe. But if the message can inspire some things, because I think we need something like this today.
We need inspiration today.
More than ever, with all the conflict and stuff out here.
So what made you decide to do lead vocals? Was that all along your plan?
Singing wasn't there. I never thought in a million years I'd be singing on this project. That was not in the plans.
Really?
Me
so
singing,
even when you were sitting down writing this music and so forth, you never heard your voice in your head?
No.
Wow.
And the only reason I'm singing on this record, it was by default. I asked 3 singers to do this project, and they all said yes. But then at some point shortly after, they all said, Jay, I don't think I'm the right guy for this.
Really?
Here's the even stranger thing. Without ever hearing a note of the music I was asking them to sing. And so one night, after the third person canceled on me, I got kind of bummed out, and I was at home and I just happened to have a mirror in front of me, right? I was I was standing kind of in my upstairs bathroom and just looking in the mirror, just like feeling exasperated, like what's happening? I don't understand what's happening, So I said, well, that's when my faith came in. I said, just give me an understanding of what's going on here. I don't understand what's happening here. And I'm looking in the mirror, and then something got in my head and said, okay, I'll do it. At least try it, right? So the next day, I called a good friend of mine, vocal coach, fantastic vocal coach, Sandra Gelb, who I used to teach with at the Governor's School. And Sandra, if you're listening to this, I love you. So, but I wanted to go to her because she's good at what she does. And I knew she would, she's going to be mean enough to tell me, Jay, I think you really should just stick with the drums, right? And so I went over there for a lesson. She didn't say anything. I sang some Gershwin or something like that, some standard stuff. And I came back for a second lesson and didn't say anything. And then third time, she said, I think you can do this and I think you should do this. So that was a huge endorsement for me, right?
Yeah.
And it had to do basically with me just utilizing my technique and that sort of thing. Then I said, well, the next layer here, the guys. So they can be brutal too, right? So I put together some MP3s and I sent them. And Terry said, "This is you singing? Seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." I said, but they didn't know at that time that all these singers canceled.
Oh.
So they're like, "Well, why are you doing this, Jay?" You know? And so I eventually told them, I said, "Well, all the singers canceled." And I said, "Do you believe in fate? I think something is telling me to sing these songs." And they're like, "I think you can do this." So, and then the last layer was the engineer, Rob Walsh, who I've known for 30 years. And the songs instrumentally had already been recorded.
Okay.
So I had to go in, obviously, if I'm, playing the drums. And so I go in the studio and Rob said, "Who's singing?" I said, "You're looking at him." He goes, "You're serious?" And I'm like, "Yep." So I go in the room by myself, a little dark room with the microphone there, and I'm shaking. I'm terrified, right? And Rob is out there at the panel. He goes, "Okay, you ready?" And I said, "Yeah." So he starts the music, and I go, "Ah!" He's like, "Oh, wait a minute. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?" He goes, "Okay, that's all right, man. Let's try this again."
I just had to get that out.
Yeah, I had to get it out. Starts the music again. Here we go. Music starts. I go, "Ah!" Stops me again. He says, "Come on out." So I go out. He goes, "You okay?" I said, "Man, I'm terrified. I'm just not doing this." And he said, "Well, let's just talk a minute." So we went out there and something came over me, right? I said, "Wait a minute. Why am I nervous about this? The worst case, if I stink up the joint, we'll just pull the vocal off and eventually I'll find some singer that will come in and play it." And it was the moment that I keep remembering something that Wayne Dyer said in a book years ago. He kept going back to this phrase, "When you let it go, you'll have it all. When you let it go, you'll have it all." And it took me years to understand what he was meaning by that. And it was that moment where I just let everything go. I said, "Okay, I'm not afraid anymore." So I go into the room again, and Rob starts the song. I start singing. We get all the way through, and he goes, "I think we got something here.
Wow.
Let's do another take." So we did another take. He goes, "You're getting better." And so that's how this all went down with me singing. I was not planning to sing on this record.
Well, we want to hear you singing this record. Let's listen to Higher Calling.
Every morning, thankful for the sun. Every day I thank you for the blessings still to come. Faith, its arms around me, holding me so strong. Comforts and consoles me when the right blurs with the wrong. It's a higher calling. It's a higher calling. It's a higher calling for us now. Time gives us the windows just to see our souls. Let His love embrace you. Life can be so very cold. Pray for His good mercy, helps me see the road, shining light above me, and His glory, it never folds. It's a higher calling. It's a higher calling. It's a higher calling for us now. Is always open. Let His love fill all of us. Take my hand and guide me through the darkest times. God's gifts help stay higher calling. It's a higher calling. It's a higher calling for us now. Say the words you mean. Live them every day. Life's one chance to make all the difference for someone. Grateful is my spirit, and the holiness sure. Never take for granted God's love for us. He loves us all. Let his love fill all of us. Take my hand and guide me through the darkest times. God's gifts helps to give us strength. His light shines bright on us all. It's a higher calling. It's a higher calling. It's a higher calling for us now. Waking every morning, thankful for the sun. Every day I thank you for the blessings still to come. Faith, its arms around me, holding me so strong. Comfort and consoles me when the right blurs with the wrong. Said it's a higher calling. Said it's a higher calling. It's a higher calling. Said it's a higher calling. Ha. It's a higher calling. Ha. It's a higher calling. Said it's a higher calling.
I just love it.
Thank you, Barbara.
Jay, I mean, honestly, that song just touches you. Anybody. It's just there.
Thank
and
you.
you sang that song.
Well, thank you. I was terrified, but I sang it.
You should not have been terrified, honestly. It was wonderful. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I'm sitting here with Jae Sinnett. We're talking about his latest project, the Americana Groove Project. Let's talk to James in Norfolk. Hi, James. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing? I just wanted to say that I am so grateful for him being around, and I've listened to his shows forever since he came on the air.
I'm here, James.
And yeah, you're a great guy, man. You know, I thank God for you to bringing jazz to the area.
Thank you.
Thank you. What did you think about the song you just heard?
Oh man,
Isn't that awesome?
sounded a little bit like Gil Scott-Heron. Do you know that guy?
Of course.
Yes, we do.
That guy, yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for the call, James. We appreciate you. Wow. A little bit like Gil Scott.
I've heard Bill Withers or, I'm just...
How do you feel when you hear yourself? When you hear it sitting like in this type of an environment?
I'm nervous, I mean, let's put it in perspective, Barbara. I've never sung lead before.
Wow.
No, and I haven't sung since 77, 78 in those disco bands with Casey and his Sunshine Band. I mean, backup vocal. Oh, that's the way, right. I don't call that singing, but so, and then all these years, I'll sing in my truck or I'll sing in my house. The thing with jazz, I'm a composer, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a good tonal center, and I understand pitch, right? I understand harmony. I'm a writer. So I wrote these songs. Something that Sam Cooke said, I read something that Sam Cooke said that really stuck with me. And Sam Cooke, one of the great soul singers, he said, It's not so much about tone. It's not so much about technique. He said, what it's more about is, can you make the listener believe what you're singing? Mm-hmm. And I thought about that for a long time. And it's what kind of message can you convey? Can you sing the truth, basically?
Yeah.
But then on the humorous side of it, I said, well, Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson can sing. I can sing too. That's a joke, folks. I'm joking. Don't send your letters to me, please. I'm joking.
Yeah, please send them to him, not to me. Absolutely. But from a listener's perspective, you can tell someone who sings because they've learned the technique. Okay. But there's a difference between that person and someone who is singing from their soul, from deep inside. And that's what you hear. Yes, you got the technique and pitch and all that, but there's something there that's...
Well, there's a lot of talk about the
vague.
software. There's a lot of talk about Pro Tools software and what it can do. People, that's why a lot of artists lip sync, because they can't reproduce live what the studio can give them.
Well,
that's true to a degree. Now that I've done it, Pro Tools is not going to give you the emotional sensibilities.
Right.
It's not going to tell the story for you. It might help your pitch or something like that, and put some tone on your voice, those kind of things. But the feel and the truth and the message of the song, no, you got to produce that.
You got to bring it. Let's talk to Carrie in Norfolk. Hi, Carrie. You on the air?
Hi, guys. It's Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
I love both of your shows.
Thank you.
Hey, Jay, I have a funny question for you. So I went to University of Miami, a big jazz program there, and all the kids that studied jazz listened to heavy metal music, and I never understood it. Now I have a son who's studying music. He's in the jazz ensemble at Maury, and he's all into jazz, also likes heavy metal. What is the connection between studying heavy metal music and jazz? Like, there's got to be some commonality.
Well, I think it's more social than it is musical. I mean, because you have two radical extremes in how those musics are played. It's and you're dealing with a whole completely different harmonic concept with jazz and rhythmic concept with jazz than you are with metal music. I think it's more of a social passion with a younger generation and trends. It's a trend. But I work with a singer, and the name escaped me. Right, she went down to the University of Miami. I'm embarrassed because Stephanie Nicasian is her mother. I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, but there's a video of her with a hardcore metal video. I mean, doing this stuff right, I mean, but it's heavy metal, right? Mm-hmm. But then she's in a Thelonious Monk like vocal competition, jazz.
Wow.
So that falls right into line, Gary, what you're talking about. So I think it's...
Those metal vocals are so hard. I don't know how they learn how to do that without it harming their voice.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But again, I would say it's more of a social trend thing and just doing what your contemporaries are doing more than it is a musical connection.
Okay, thanks, Carrie, for the call. Appreciate that. Let's take a listen to Gotta Roll, because I want to get some of this other music in, just a little bit, just a little taste, to see what else is on the album.
Gotta roll, gotta roll, gotta roll, gotta roll. Gotta roll, gotta roll, Come on, guys. I gotta roll. Woo! Yeah. Every time the morning sun shines brightly in my eyes, motivates and moves me till I reach and touch the sky. All my hopes and dreams show me my path is very clear. As I lay to rest now, all my doubts and empty fears. Gotta roll, 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 oh, gotta roll, 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 gotta roll, 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 oh, gotta roll, 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 yeah. Got no time.
Okay, which one did you sing first?
In the studio?
Yeah.
I think it was this one.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
But you know, the tricky thing about this song here, it's in an odd meter. It's an odd time signature. It's in 7/4 time. So it's, I know that's kind of a musical thing there, but it's really tricky to sing from that perspective. From the rhythmic perspective, because it's not in 4/4 even bar time.
Right.
It's in 7/4. So that phrasing is a little, and that beginning was completely spontaneous. I was goofing around, waiting for the engineer to get everything queued up, and I was just, and then he quietly
just started recording
me.
I love it.
And then I said, okay, Rob, let's do this. He goes, well, I want you to hear something, and he played that back with the bass part with Terry playing, and I'm like, wow, that works. Actually, let's keep that. You know?
See, that's the difference, though, between in professionals in terms of recording also, because you got to be able to catch those moments
right.
as you're putting together. How long were you all in the studio?
Oh, man.
Because you were saying a lot of things kind of
we recorded at different times.
Now.
Well, initially, I wasn't planning on recording an album. What I did, I wanted to go in and record 4 songs, which we did, and I wanted to have the singer come in and sing the songs, and then I was just going to sit back and listen to them and live with them for a while and decide if I wanted to do anything else with them. But then the singers backed out, so I sang the first 4 songs, and we took us about maybe within about a month to get all those 4 songs recorded. And then I lived with him for about another month or two, and I said, I think, I let some people hear it, and they said, man, you should try to finish this thing. So went in and did the other half of the record, and once again I'm singing again on the record. There are 9 songs on the record. There are 4 or 5 with vocals, and then there are a couple of instrumentals, few instrumentals. It's a combination of blues, rock, soul, funk, serious funk, and some light jazz fusion, and some smoking guitar playing there from the great Jay Rakes. And some fantastic solo work from Justin Coughlin.
Now, today is a special day because this is your national debut.
Yeah, it goes national today. Yeah, so I'm preparing for the onslaught.
I know. We're so excited to have you on today.
But
this is happening. That's awesome.
And the people I've talked to, they're zeroing in on the singing. But here's the thing with that, Barbara. Singing, now that I'm out here doing it, somebody said, Jay, will you let the cat out of the bag now? So the singing is something that everybody can relate to at some level because of the spoken word. Like if I play a drum solo, everybody's not going to get that. You're not going to walk away humming my drum solo, right? But singing, everybody focuses on the singing. And that's what's terrifying to me outside of my insecurity as a singer, because I've never really done it before. This is my first time singing lead in the studio. And now that's all everybody's asking me, But now the other question is, am I going to sing or am I going to play drums? Now there are great singing drummers, right? The guy from Rare Earth, for example, was a fantastic singer. Don Brewer with Grand Funk Railroad, great singing drummer. Some of these songs I could play and sing at the same time, but then there are other songs on here that I'm moving too much physically to be comfortable singing. So something's going to give one way or the other. I've asked a couple of drummers lightly if I decided to come out front and sing, would they back me up? And they both said no. So
Oh, no. Why is everybody terrified of yours?
I'm like, come on, man, really? So, I mean, there's some things I need to work out. I've turned down 3 or 4 gigs already. Because,
really?
Yeah, because they want me to come out and do this project. But these were like recent gigs.
Yeah.
And I just said, no, I can't do it because we're not ready yet. And quite honestly, Barbara, the attention that the vocal thing is getting is caught me off guard.
So do you think this group will go out and actually perform and at some point?
The way it's headed, yes. So I'm starting to formulate ideas to the band, thinking about what I'm going to do with the drumming situation. Mm-hmm. Bring in some background singers. So obviously I can't sing all the parts live.
Exactly.
And then see how it goes, see how
Can
it
I
feels.
Audition?
If you want, sure. But you know what's funny? I think everybody wants to sing.
Yeah, I know. It's a whole different thing when you're up there.
But when you're doing it for real, it's woo. Barbara, can I make a quick mention about
sure, absolutely.
Tonight? So one of the guys said he was going to come and see us tonight. My 0 to 60 Jazz Quartet is in concert in Williamsburg at the Williamsburg Library Theater tonight and tomorrow night starting at 7:30. And they got a grant that enables them to have really low ticket charges, $5 the ticket. So the Williamsburg Library Theater tonight and tomorrow, 7:30, my 0 to 60 Jazz Quartet. And it's at 515 Scotland Street. Okay. And I want to say one more time where people can order the Americana Groove Project CD. You can get it at jsinnett.com on the homepage. There's a buy now button, which is PayPal. You can order there, or you can get it from cdbaby.com, and you can download the download links from iTunes or Amazon or wherever, or CD Baby. You can get hard copies from CD Baby as well.
Absolutely. Jae Sinnett, it's been a pleasure.
Oh,
you know what?
Barbara, thank you so much.
I'm gonna say my little part a little bit early, Lisa and Todd, because I want to go out on thinking about where you've been, so we can just let the music go from there. But I really want to thank everybody for joining us today. And hey, check this out. Have you seen our new look online and on air? We've got a new website, a new look on social media. Check it out at anotherviewradio.org. Check out the refresh. Sign up for our eView newsletter and download any other Another View program you may have missed. We're on Facebook, so like us, and I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. Next week, the Another View Roundtable featuring Don Hester, Carol Pretlow, Alvian Lyons, and Allison Moore. Intelligent debate without the rancor. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jae Sinnett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Todd Washburn is our audio engineer, and Janae Jackson answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Thank you so very much for listening to Another View, and we're going out on Thinking About Where You've Been. It's on the Americana Groove Project.